was just talking to Francisco about what you guys were saying about retrofitting Denza motors into the Shark. And like I'm saying, if physically they can fit, or even if they can physically line up and we need to add mounting brackets, but it's in the right position, completely possible. Doesn't matter if the pinouts are different or, that's a software thing, and we can, getting plugs made up and writing the software, that's not hard. And technically, if you have our All-Terrain X module already in your Shark, it wouldn't be hard to make, say, a Denza motor work, and even making the e-locker work that comes with it, or the electronic locker that comes with the Denza motor and diff work wouldn't be hard, because something like that kind of already has happened here. This vehicle, I'll let Francisco talk.
I'm going to open the back so you can actually see. There is a video on it of this one spinning the tires. I just got to put the battery so that I can turn the... I can open the tailgate. The battery, the 12-volt battery on this is a little bit...
Yeah, this motor looks a little familiar. This isn't a BYD, yet there's a BYD motor in here, guys.
So this is an Atto 3 motor that we've installed into Mitsubishi IMF. So this is the test, and I'll just put it here. So this is a proof of concept, trying to make the Atto 3 drive unit run. So a friend of mine, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was saying, I want to put an Atto 3 motor into the IMF, and I said, but the problem is that that's the car that I drive, so I can't just take it off. And then he said, I've got this one that I don't use very much. So I gave him a motor. Then a friend of his went and made a bracket to make it fit into the original subframe, and then got me some half shafts, and it's now installed. So later on, I spent a bit of time. So I basically have to figure out how the IMF motor works, what commands it receives from the car, and how it responds. And then I have to figure out how the Atto 3 motor works, and then receive all of the CAN messages from the Atto 3, and then turn them into messages that the IMF can receive, and then go back to the same way. So one of the things that it needs to do is do the pre-charge. So to do the pre-charge, essentially the car tells turns on, and it starts looking at the bus voltage, and then it closes the pre-charge contactors, and it looks at the bus voltage, and then when the bus voltage reaches the right level, then it closes the contactors. In the meantime, it tells the drive unit not to drive, so that it doesn't draw power. And then when you turn it off, there is a discharge function in the drive unit that basically discharges the capacitor down to 0, so that you don't end up with a charged capacitor and the car is off. So I basically need to get the Atto 3 drive unit to do the same thing. So when you first turn the Atto 3 drive unit, it actually starts transmitting messages, and one of the messages contains the bus voltage. So what I need to do is I need to get that message, and then modify, interpret it, and then retransmit it on a different ID, on a different coding, so that the IMF can actually see the bus voltage. And then at the same time, I need to tell the Atto 3 drive unit not to draw any power until it turns on. And then I also need to tell the Atto 3 that is being charged, that the battery is actually trying to do a pre-charge. So I got to pretend to be an Atto 3 battery, so that the Atto 3 can, the IMF battery can actually go into the Atto 3 drive unit, so that it thinks that it's still in an Atto 3. But anyway, to cut it short, I spent a fair bit of time trying to do this, and I've got it already to the point where it drives. What it doesn't do is it doesn't charge yet, but that's kind of the next step. So I've been busy with the Shark doing that. But once I get it to charge, then I'll be able to drive it around, and then I can plug it in and charge it.
So I've driven this, guys, already, and it's pretty quick. and it's because it's a reasonably sized motor in such a small light car. But the point
it's basically got double. I think it's almost triple the torque.
Yeah, but you're not fully unlocked it though.
No, because I don't want to blow the fuse.
Yeah, no, I understand that. But more to what I'm trying to say is to the question that they're saying, can we put a DENZA motor into the Shark? And the answer is yes. And what we're trying to point out is the difficulty needed, the troubleshooting, the logic, the time, the research to make an Atto 3 motor work in not even the same manufacturer vehicle has happened, and it works. So getting one working in like a DENZA, which is on the same platform as the Shark, working in the Shark from a DENZA is very likely to be a lot easier.
Yeah, look, the thing is the IMEF has got other signals as well. For example, the IMEF has a hardware signal to enable and disable the drive unit. So I basically have to emulate that signal again to get the I got to read that signal and turn it into a CAN message that I need to send to the Atto 3 motor. Whereas on the BYD, both motors are going to be working in very, very similar sort of manner. So the DENZA one might have a different IDs. The encoding is probably going to be very similar. So all I might have to do is just change the ID of the CAN messages. It might have some extra messages for shifting the, if it's got a diff lock, it might have an extra message to lock the diff lock, or maybe if it's got a 2-speed gearbox to shift gears, which I can sort of add. We could probably have something along the lines of you stop and then you press I don't know what, and then I have to wait and see how it works, and then I can figure out what to do. But definitely, if anybody can make it fit, I can make it drive.
And we'll make it fit, guys. Don't worry. Like, the thing is, the module that we're making to make the Shark kind of one pedal driving, as you've seen in our recent videos, is a thing. It's live, it's working. That same module can have the software needed to basically run the DENZA motor. So it's all about just physically making it fit. The rest of it's going to be made, because the DENZA is still a 400-volt architecture. It's not like I've changed anything. So, yeah, absolutely possible, guys.
The motors are actually designed to work over a wide range. For example, the Atto 3 motor, the Atto 3 runs on 412 or 420 volts. The IMEF is 350. So the Atto 3 motor still works, but you just don't get as much power. And I have to limit it to make sure that I don't overpower the fuse. So once I put a bigger fuse on the IMEF battery, then I should be able to get more power. Now, in the case of the DENZA, what we will need to do is we will need to figure out what the power of the DENZA motor is, and make sure that we never give it a torque command that is high enough to draw more power than what the original Shark motor did, because there will be a fuse inside and we don't want to blow the fuse. So one other thing that we might be able to do is, which I'm already doing, is we might actually be able to say for example, if it's on the same bus and it's only got one fuse for both drive units, we might be able to say for example, the Shark can push say 280 kilowatts out of the battery. So, maybe 150 goes to the rear drive unit, and I don't know, the rest goes to the front. So what we could actually do is, if the DENZA, say the DENZA is 200 kilowatts, then we could actually put 200 kilowatts to the rear drive unit and the remainder to the front unit, which basically means, say for example, if you wanted 280, at the moment it will do 150 on the back and then the rest to the front. If the DENZA was say 200 kilowatts, and you want to do 280, then you tell the rear drive unit to do 280, and then you tell the front one only to do 80. Sorry, you tell the rear to do 200 and the front one only 80, so that you don't overpower it. It's still going to have the same power, but it basically means that the rear will be able to push a lot harder than what it does now.
Well, if you know full driving, when you're going up a hill, your rear axle takes on the mass of the weight on the more steeper angle you go. So people don't realize this, but when you're climbing hills, it's not actually 50-50 distribution that you need between the front and rear axle. It's actually why the Adventure drives really well off-road, because of its 62-38 distribution. But I just want to quickly show you guys while I'm here. We've talked about this in some of our other videos, but it's since you're probably watching this one and you maybe you've never seen our channel before. This is actually a rear motor from a Shark. And you can actually see the size, so the profile size, okay? Differential, electric motor, and the inverter. And this is, the power's basically loaded directly into this, and then there's a CAN bus that just takes instructions of the inverter that basically commands the motor. So if we were to change, say, a DENZA motor into the Shark, it would look something like this, and we just have to make sure it mounts up and that the CVs line up correctly, and getting the inverter to basically be connected and talk back is a pretty simple task. It's amazing what you can get done with software, guys. So if we can make it work, it'll happen. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe, because when the DENZA platform hits and people are going to go crazy over wanting DENZA power potentially in the Shark, it's possible. Even the front could be possible, because the B5 uses the same 1.5 litre turbo. And my bet, I'll be almost betting that it's the same engine code as well, like they've shared with C-Line 6, the Shark 6, the DENZA being the same platform. Anyway, we're going to keep working on what we're working, but I thought I would just answer a comment that someone just asked, because of all the journos that are announcing the DENZA information out today. These are questions that are popping up by Shark owners all over the place.